After lunch, we set out riding with a group of colorful, custom-built bikes. They took us to a different set of dunes than what we had previously ridden. These bowls were the biggest we had seen so far. You ride hammer down all day long, keeping your momentum as you transition from one wall to the other. Can-Ams, Razors, Textron Wildcats, and all sorts of custom dune buggies playing across the desert is a sight to see. These dunes seem to go on forever, and you're never riding the same area twice.
I have a 2018 Can-Am X3 XRS 4-seater. It's turbocharged, it's got aftermarket suspension, doors, cage, seats, it's got a tune, it's got a clutch, 32-inch paddles. It's a brand new car, barely has 200 miles on it, so I'm just kind of getting used to it, but I really like it. So, the ride we went on today, we got a little bit of footage of, is just going through the dunes, bigger bowls, rather than the small ones. You can go a lot faster, get a good line. Some of the best riding you could ever get and do here in Glamis.
One of the drivers in our group caught a wheel in what is known as a witch's eye and flipped on his side, bending both front A-arms. The crew was able to flip it back up, and he was able to drive it back to camp.
Yeah, he got a witch's eye and went over on his side. Broke both of the A-arms.
You know, when it comes to safety, most of it, and I can honestly say most of it, is the driver. It's as safe as you want to be. Keeping your head on a swivel and making sure that that you're staying out of people's way and that you're following the laws of the regular road. Even when you're on sand highway, you want to stay on the 15-foot or you want to stay at the 15-mile-an-hour mark, always on the right side. That way, if you're coming up over a hill, they're coming up over on the right-hand side as well. As far as like honestly, safety is the person that's driving. If you're out there being safe, the likeliness of you getting hurt is pretty slim. With 100 to 200,000 people out here at any given time, considering the amount of people that there are out here, accidents are relatively low. My favorite kind of riding, honestly, is a 3 or 4 car group that we're doing really, really fast. I do a lot of calm rides for a lot of the people that aren't as experienced as us, but my favorite riding is definitely when we're out there, mobbing those hills at 75, 80 miles an hour. Momentum around the bowls. Never go up a dune straight. You always want to come in at a 45, that way you always have an exit point. If it's a roller on one side, you can almost guarantee that it's flat down on the other. It could be a 2-foot drop, it could be a 15-foot drop, it could be a 30-foot drop. So you always want to come up with that bowl at a 45, that way you always have an exit point, or then you can continue over to the next transition.
Can-Ams, the Razors, the Arctic Cats, they're all good machines, and you can pretty much most of them will go anywhere. They're 4-wheel drive. Some are turbo, some are not. Some got better suspension than the others. But they're all good machines, and it's just nice to have one. Just reading the sand is the major key. Getting a good line. Avoiding the witch's eyes and all that stuff through the dunes, that way you get a good line, fast line, and experience helps a lot.
So in the dunes, you definitely want to make sure you're going with the flow of the dunes. The wind does dictate the shape of the dunes, so that's pretty consistent out here. if you don't follow that flow, you can find yourself in a hole, which is called a witch's eye. And when you're in one of those, if you don't have four-wheel drive or some friends in a tow strap, you might be sleeping there. But going with the flow, I have a cutting brake where it'll lock one corner of the car up and allow me to rotate and help make the corner with dragging the tire. Stuff like that really helps out here. And again, going with the flow is very, very important.
Never go up a dune straight. You always want to come in at a 45, that way you always have an exit point. If it's a roller on one side, you can almost guarantee that it's flat down on the other. It could be a 2-foot drop, it could be a 15-foot drop, it could be a 30-foot drop. So you always want to come up with that bowl at a 45, that way you always have an exit point, or then you can continue over to the next transition.